My name is Donna Matthews and I live in Tivoli, New York. I was born at Ward Manor and I grew up on Ward Manor until I was a young teenager. We lived in a little house right next to the barn that is the only building still standing on the property. When I say Ward Manor, I'm referring to the entire community, which was located on the 1,000-acre property, and Manor House was one of the buildings on that property. Ward Manor was a community. It consisted of permanent homes where families lived, summer camps for children from New York City, and 20-something bungalows, which were summer retreats for the working families of New York City. And then everybody who lived there participated in giving back to the community. So there were gardeners, there were people who had spent their lives growing things and taking care of plants. So when they came to Ward Manor, they would tend the gardens and they would grow vegetables. And many community members from Red Hook and Tivoli would come and use the gigantic swimming pool and facilities. So most of the children of my generation learned how to swim at Ward Manor in the wonderful swimming pool, which no longer exists. There was one building on a hillside called Sunset Lodge, and I'll read from the caption. Sunset Lodge, a summer place of rest and peace for old folks who still work on in the city as best they can. There was one camp called Homestead, and that was a girls' camp. In fact, my mother was a counselor at Homestead, and she would tell stories about meeting the girl campers who would come on the train from New York City in Tivoli. They would be met at the train by the counselors and walk through the village, so the story goes, and buy a soda on the way to their camp. And the building is really beautiful. It's still there. So often I would spend the night in their bungalow, and after a campfire and a cookout, we'd play games or tell stories, and then we'd get up in the morning and we'd go fishing. So this is a photograph of William Henry Matthews playing his trumpet. Standing next to him is a man named Bronco Charlie Miller, who was a real live writer for the Pony Express. My grandfather's philosophy was to give people a hand up rather than a hand out. So a very important part of the philosophy was to give back. I remember that very clearly. He was the first commissioner of child welfare in the city of New York. He knew many influential people, and one of those was Mr. Ward of the Ward Baking Company, hence the name Ward Manor.